Zanille Dlamini, 34, sat on the edge of her hospital bed, fidgeting with the straps of her slippers. The antiseptic smell filled the room, a harsh reminder that she was about to go under for a minor surgery. Nothing serious, the doctor had said, but her stomach still twisted with nerves. She ran her hand over her phone, scrolling through messages from friends wishing her luck. One message made her smile. A cheerful note from her best friend Naledi. "You've got this. Can't wait to see you back home styling your condo like the queen you are." Her condo. Just thinking about it made her chest lift with pride. Years ago she had bought it with every bit of savings she'd scraped together from her small business. It was more than an apartment. It was proof that she had made it on her own. She pictured the sunlight pouring into the living room, the cozy reading nook by the window, the smell of fresh coffee on the balcony in the mornings. She imagined rearranging the furniture, adding a few plants, maybe even painting an accent wall, her personal touch everywhere. For a moment she felt calm, almost light-hearted, letting herself drift into these little daydreams. She didn't know that in just a few hours, while she was under anesthesia, her carefully built life was about to be shaken in ways she couldn't even imagine. Right now, all she had was hope and that tiny bubble of peace before everything changed. Zanille blinked awake, her head spinning and her body heavy from the anesthesia. The room was quiet except for the beep of the heart monitor, and for a moment she felt that familiar calm from before her surgery. Then her phone buzzed, and buzzed, and buzzed again. Groaning, she reached for it. Hundreds of messages had piled up, friends checking in, reminders and bank alerts that made her stomach drop. Her eyes widened as she scrolled. Property sold, proceeds transferred. The next line made her hands tremble. The buyer's name was someone she had never heard of. Her heart raced, confusion and fear mixing in a sharp, bitter cocktail. Weak and still wobbly from the operation, she dialed her parents, Sibusiso and Thandi, her voice shaky. "Mom? Dad? Can you explain this?" On the other end, their voices were calm, almost casual, like they were discussing the weather. "Oh, Zanille," her mother said, "we just wanted to help you financially. Make things easier for you." Her chest tightened. Help? This wasn't help. Her condo, her safe place, the one she had worked so hard to buy, was gone. Sold while she was lying helpless on that hospital bed. She wanted to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the documents, seeing her own signature forged in places she had never signed. Betrayal washed over her like a cold wave. Every memory tied to that condo. Late nights decorating, the smell of fresh paint, the feeling of finally achieving independence, felt stolen. She had trusted them, relied on them even for small things, and now, they hadn't helped her. They had taken control. For a long moment, Zanille just sat there staring at her phone, the reality crashing down. The calm she had felt before surgery was gone, replaced by disbelief, anger, and the faintest spark of determination. She wasn't going to let this end her story. Somehow she had to find a way to fight back. Zanille lay back against her hospital pillows, exhaustion tugging at every muscle. Her condo was gone, sold while she was helpless, and yet her mind wouldn't stop racing. She stared at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every bank alert, every casual lie her parents had thrown at her. And then slowly a memory surfaced, one she hadn't thought about in years. A small townhouse in Johannesburg, quiet, old, a little worn around the edges. She had bought it years ago, secretly, under her grandmother's name. It had been her little plan, a backup, a piece of security tucked away where no one, not even her parents, would think to look. Her heart thumped faster. Could it still be hers? Could it be the key to reclaiming some control, some power over a life that suddenly felt like it had slipped through her fingers? She pictured the townhouse. The brick facade, the tiny balcony, the creaky staircase leading up to the second floor where sunlight spilled through a window in the morning. It had always been hers, in a way, a secret she had protected, a piece of her future no one else could touch. Her hands tightened around the bedsheet. For the first time since waking, a small spark of hope flickered inside her. Maybe she wasn't completely powerless. Maybe, just maybe, she still had a foothold, an asset her parents would never have guessed. But first she had to find the papers. Somewhere, hidden among old files and dusty drawers, the legal documents proving she owned the townhouse were waiting. She could almost see them. The purchase receipts, notarized papers, and the quiet assurance that they were hers, untouched, undisputed, and unclaimed. A determined smile crept onto her face despite the pain and weakness. The condo had been taken from her, But this little townhouse could be the beginning of turning everything around. It was more than bricks and mortar. It was proof that she had built her own life even when those closest to her tried to erase it. Zanil knew it wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in days she felt a flicker of strength. She could fight back. She could reclaim her life. And maybe, just maybe, she could turn this betrayal into something unstoppable. Zanil felt a new surge of energy as soon as she got home from the hospital. The pain from surgery was still there, but it was drowned out by a sharper, fiercer emotion: determination. She wasn't going to sit back and let her parents' betrayal define her life. Not now, not ever. She called her cousin Themba, a sharp and meticulous accountant who had always been her quiet ally. "I need your help," she said, her voice steady despite the lingering frustration. "I need to find every piece of proof I have for that townhouse, and anything showing what my parents did to my condo." Within days, Zanil and Themba spread out papers, receipts, and files across her kitchen table. Bank statements, notarized agreements, property deeds, even old email exchanges. They sifted through every detail, cross-checking dates, signatures, and numbers. Each document they found was like a small victory. The townhouse, her secret sanctuary, was undeniably hers. Then came the darker discovery. As they dug into the condo sale records, a chill ran down Zanil's spine. Some of the documents bore her signature, but she hadn't signed them. Her parents had forged her name, sold her condo behind her back, and treated her life like it was theirs to manipulate. The shock hit hard, a bitter reminder of just how far their betrayal went. But the anger didn't consume her. It sharpened her focus. Every receipt, every notarized paper, every record became a weapon in her mind. This wasn't just about money or property. It was about respect, independence, and proving that no one, not even her parents, could take away what she had worked for. She leaned back in her chair for a moment, looking at the growing pile of evidence that it felt like stacking bricks, building a wall between her and those who had tried to hurt her. For the first time since waking from surgery, Zanil felt in control again. Shock had turned into resolve. Pain had turned into power. She wasn't a victim anymore. Not now, not ever. The fight to reclaim her condo and protect her hidden townhouse was just beginning, and this time she would be ready. Zanil took a deep breath as she stepped out of her apartment, her hands trembling slightly, not from weakness but from the mix of fear, anger, and adrenaline coursing through her. Today she wasn't just a daughter. She was a woman reclaiming what was rightfully hers. The taxi ride to her parents' house felt endless. Every street corner a countdown to the confrontation she had rehearsed in her mind hundreds of times. When she arrived, Sibusiso and Thandi were lounging casually in the living room, sipping tea as if nothing had happened. Their smiles didn't reach their eyes, and that casualness made her blood boil. She didn't hesitate. "You sold my condo," she shouted, her voice echoing through the room. "You had no right. Do you even understand what you've done?" Sibusiso leaned back, smirking like a man who had already won. "Zanil, calm down. We did it for your own good," he said, voice dripping with condescension. "We just wanted to help you financially. You're always so reckless with money." Zanil felt her heart tighten, but she didn't back down. She could see it now, clearer than ever. This wasn't about help or care or love. It was about control. They wanted to dictate her life, make decisions for her, and take what was hers while she was vulnerable. Every casual excuse, every smirk, every lie was proof. "They weren't helping me," she said, her voice shaking but steady. "They were stealing from me. My life, my hard work, my independence. They took it while I was helpless." She pulled the stack of documents from her bag, slamming them onto the coffee table. Receipts, bank statements, notarized papers. They were her shield, her sword, her proof. Her parents exchanged uneasy glances. Thandi opened her mouth, but Zanil cut her off. "I am done being your child in your control. I will no longer allow you to manipulate or betray me. Everything I've worked for is mine, and you cannot touch it." For the first time in years she felt a surge of power, a clarity that came from standing firmly in her truth. They could try to smile, try to explain, try to justify, but she saw it all for what it was. Their version of care was nothing but a mask for greed and control. And Zanil was done letting them win. Zanil sat across from her cousin Themba in a quiet cafe, her fingers drumming nervously on the table. "You need someone who can fight for you," Themba said, sliding a business card across. "This is Advocate Lorato Kumalo. She doesn't back down from family fraud cases. She'll know what to do." Zanil took the card, reading the name carefully. She could feel her chest tighten, part fear, part excitement. Could this really work? Could someone really help her take back what was stolen? That evening she made the call, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. The next day, Sunil found herself in Larato Kumalo's office, a sleek space filled with shelves of law books and the hum of quiet determination. Larato, a sharp-eyed woman in her early 40s, greeted her with a firm handshake. "I've read your summary, your emails, the documents," Larato said after a moment. "You have more than enough to reclaim your condo and to secure your other property." Your parents crossed serious lines. Sunil's eyes widened, relief mixed with a rush of adrenaline. For the first time she felt that the battle ahead was winnable. Larato's confidence was infectious, her sharp words cutting through the fog of anger and betrayal that had clouded Sunil's mind for days. They went through the papers one by one, the notarized agreements for the townhouse, bank transfers, even the forged condo sale documents. Larato explained how each piece would fit into a strong legal case. "This isn't just about property," she said firmly. "It's about rights, respect, and ensuring no one can steal your future again." Sunil nodded, feeling a spark of determination flare within her. She had spent days in shock, hours crying quietly, nights imagining how she could rebuild. Now with Larato's guidance she could see a clear path forward. She wasn't just going to fight back, she was going to win. As they left the office, Sunil felt something shift inside her. A quiet storm was brewing, and this time it was hers. Every step of the plan, every meeting, every legal document would be part of reclaiming her life. Her condo, her townhouse, her independence. It all mattered. And somewhere deep inside she smiled. Her parents thought they could break her. They had no idea that Sunil Dlamini was just getting started. The courtroom was tense, quiet except for the shuffling of papers and the occasional cough. Sunil sat beside Advocate Larato Kumalo, her hands gripping the edge of the wooden table. Across the room her parents, Sibusiso and Thandi, sat with calm, confident smiles, as if they already knew the outcome. Sunil felt a pang of anger but forced herself to breathe slowly. This was her moment. The hearing began. Sunil's parents spoke first, their voices smooth, casual, trying to make their actions sound like kindness. "We only wanted to help Sunil," Sibusiso said, glancing at her with a faint smirk. "She can be reckless sometimes with money." Larato stood, her voice strong and unwavering. "Your Honors," she began, "we have proof that the sale of Sunil's condo was done without her consent. Documents were forged, signatures falsified, and bank transfers manipulated. This was not help, it was fraud." One by one, Larato presented the evidence. Notarized agreements proving Sunil's ownership of the hidden townhouse, email exchanges showing her parents plotting the condo sale, bank statements confirming the transfers, and copies of the forged contracts. Each piece landed like a hammer strike in the courtroom, and Sunil felt her confidence growing with every revelation. The judge, an older woman with keen eyes, leaned forward, scanning the documents. Her expression shifted from curiosity to shock. "This is incredibly brazen," she said, her voice firm. "You, Sibusiso and Thandi Dlamini, sold property that did not belong to you, forging documents in the process. Immediate restitution is ordered. The condo is to be returned to Sunil Dlamini without delay." Sunil felt her chest lift, a rush of relief mingled with triumph. Her parents' confident smiles faltered, replaced with a flicker of fear and disbelief. For the first time they were powerless. As the gavel hit the bench, marking the official restitution, Sunil exhaled deeply. She had fought back, armed with truth and determination, and she had won. Every betrayal, every sleepless night, every pang of shock had led to this moment. Walking out of the courtroom, Larato by her side, Sunil felt unstoppable. She had reclaimed not just her condo but her independence, her dignity, and the proof that she could stand up to anyone, even her own parents. Sunil turned the key in the lock of her condo, stepping inside with a mix of relief and triumph. The familiar scent of her home greeted her, the faint smell of polished wood, the lingering notes of coffee from mornings past. Every corner, every wall, every window reminded her of what she had fought for. This wasn't just a space. It was proof of her strength, her independence, and her refusal to be controlled. She walked slowly through the rooms, touching the furniture, running her fingers along the balcony railing. Memories of her parents' betrayal still stung, but instead of pain she felt a surge of power. They had thought they could take everything from her while she was helpless. But here she was, standing in the heart of her life, restored and untouchable. Sunil knew she wanted more than to simply reclaim her condo. She wanted to make it her own, to cleanse it of the betrayal that had once entered these walls. She called a local contractor and began planning renovations. Fresh paint, brighter lights, new furniture, and even small touches she had dreamed about for years. Each choice felt symbolic, a way to take back not just a building but her narrative. And then there was the hidden townhouse in Johannesburg, still safely under her name. She smiled, thinking of it as a secret empire, a fortress beyond their reach. While the condo was her sanctuary and proof of resilience, the townhouse represented opportunity, a new chapter, a financial foundation no one could touch. For the first time in a long while, Zanil felt completely in control. She could decide how her spaces looked, how her money was managed, and how her life unfolded. Every decision was hers, free from interference, free from manipulation, free from fear. Standing on the balcony, she breathed in the city air, sunlight warming her face. Her condo, once nearly stolen from her, was now a canvas for her life, her dreams, and her story. And the townhouse, quietly waiting in Johannesburg, was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, she had always had a foothold, always had power even when others tried to take it. Zanil smiled to herself. This was more than victory. It was freedom, resilience, and the start of a new empire, one she would build entirely on her own terms. A few weeks later, Zanil was in her newly renovated living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, when a knock at the door made her pause. She opened it to see her parents standing there, nervous and hesitant, their usual confidence replaced by something unfamiliar, fear, maybe even shame. "Zanil, please," her mother began, voice trembling. We didn't know how to handle your independence. We made mistakes. We're so sorry. Can you forgive us?" Sibusiso stepped forward, trying to soften his tone. "We never meant to hurt you. We just didn't know how to deal with how strong you've become. Please give us another chance." Zanil took a deep breath, her eyes calm, steady. The anger that had burned inside her after the condo betrayal had softened, but the lessons remained sharp and clear. She listened quietly, letting their words wash over her without reacting immediately. Finally she spoke, her voice firm and measured. "I hear your apology. I understand what you are saying. But trust isn't something that comes back once it's broken. You took my home, my independence, and thought I wouldn't notice. That cannot be undone." Her parents exchanged glances, the weight of her words sinking in. Zanil continued, feeling more empowered with every sentence. "I am no longer a child to be controlled. I make my own decisions, live my own life, and protect what I've worked for. You cannot take that from me, ever." There was silence in the room, but it wasn't tense. It was final. Zanil had drawn her line, clear and unshakable. She wasn't rejecting them out of cruelty. She was protecting herself, her future, and the life she had built with her own hands. Finally, Thandi nodded slowly, a small, resigned sigh escaping her. Sibusiso's jaw tightened. They understood, perhaps for the first time, that their daughter was untouchable in ways they could never undo. Zanil closed the door behind them and leaned against it, a quiet smile forming. She wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't bitter. She was free, strong, and sovereign, untouchable in her life, her finances, and her independence. The betrayal had shaped her, but it hadn't defeated her. It had only made her unstoppable. Months later, Zanil's condo was filled with laughter, music, and the warm glow of celebration lights. Friends, mentors, and clients moved from room to room, admiring the fresh paint, the elegant furniture, and the little touches she had added herself. But more than the decor, they were drawn to her story, the journey from betrayal to triumph, from helplessness to unstoppable strength. Zanil moved through the crowd with a smile, shaking hands, hugging close friends, and sharing quiet words of gratitude. She could feel the energy in the room, the sense of inspiration that her story carried. Each compliment, each curious question about her journey, reminded her how far she had come. The condo wasn't just a home anymore. It was a symbol of resilience, of hard-won independence, of a life reclaimed. When the chatter settled, Zanil stepped forward and spoke to the group. "I started this journey thinking I had lost everything," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "But I realized that independence, knowledge, and ownership are things no one can take from you. That's why I'm proud to announce the launch of my women's financial literacy program here in Pretoria. I want every woman to understand her power, her rights, and how to protect her future. Because we can't always control what others do, but we can control ourselves and our assets." The crowd erupted in applause, and Zanil felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had turned her pain into purpose. her betrayal into a mission. She raised her glass, eyes shining, and said the words that summed it all up. They sold my condo thinking I was helpless. They forgot I owned my future, and nothing can take that away. The room fell into a moment of awe, and in that instant, Sunil knew she wasn't just surviving. She was leading, inspiring, and leaving a legacy that would outlast any obstacle.